This is the Teenage Engineering po33 KO, and we all know this little machine is great for dusty lo-fi boom bap hip hop, but will it house? What is up, greedy guts? It's your boy Big Umami, and today marks the very first installment of Will It, a series in which I pick one specific groove box to figure out how good it is for one particular genre. I go through it making a full beat to the best of my abilities, and by the end of the video I'll give out votes from 1 to 10 to sound and overall usability to determine whether the po33 passes the test. So let's start, shall we? When producing house music, I don't like to start with the drums. I usually look for a cool sample to find some inspiration. Fortunately, I made this jazzy piano sample in Ableton that I can record straight in the po33. I'm just going to record this final bit here in the rhythm section, and the PO will automatically slice it. And I just want to stop and say, all the samples used in this video are completely homemade by me and they're copyright free. You can find these samples as well as the project file and many other resources on my brand new Patreon page. Click on the link in the description box below, please, and thank you. Right, so I'm just gonna play around with the slices until I find something that sounds good. Like this. I'm gonna write that in with a tempo of 120 BPM. It's a 4-bar pattern with an AABB structure. I'm gonna repeat this pattern a few times. I'll probably apply a filter for the intro part. Now, as we think about approaching the drums, we have to remember one crucial detail. The po33 only has 4 voices of polyphony. Let's consider what a standard house track usually needs. 1. Definitely a drum kick. 2. An open hi-hat. 3. A snare or a clap or something like that. 4. Some percussions. 5. A bass. 6. A sample of some sort, maybe keys or guitar. 7. Maybe some vocal or some horns. And as you notice, that's 3 too many voices compared to the 4 that we have available. So we need to be smart about this. Let's think about this. Kicks and open hi-hat usually never go together, so they can go on the same track. The snare, on the other hand, can be incorporated within the percussion track. So that's exactly what I did. Here are my 2 drum tracks. Kicks and hats. Snares and perks. Let's lay down some drums for the intro. Let's create a full-on drum pattern for the main loop. is starting to shape up now. All we need is a bass. And I'm gonna sample just one note from my trusty Korg Volca bass. Don't worry, this note will also be included in the Patreon pack. I'll make sure to use the root note of the key that I'm in, and I'm gonna use one of the melodic slots to record it. That way, that note can be played within the scale of the song. That sounds pretty good. Now, all of these notes are playing at their full length. We need to shorten some of these notes, and we do that by pressing record, holding the note that we want to edit, and turning the B knob until we get to the desired length. Now, I'm gonna try and put some more melodic stuff on top of this. The problem is we're over the 4-voice limit already, so something might just cut off abruptly. But let's try. So far so good, no interruptions. Let's get to the juicy part. Damn, see? It doesn't work. We're one note over the maximum polyphony. The sax either won't play or it will cut off immediately, so I won't be able to use this sound in the main loop. I'll just use it in the intro part. Let's try and attempt a full performance on this thing. And apologies if it sounds like ass. All you hear right now is just the stereo output of the po33, no mixing, no compression, no effects whatsoever on it. Well, we tried our best, didn't we? All in all, it sounds like a pretty solid, fun track. Let's now move on to my favorite section. Let's vote. Sound. We all know what it is. It's crunchy, it's crispy, it's lo-fi, it's got cool effects. Love it or hate it, and I love it. The po33 has so much personality, and it gives an otherwise pretty pedestrian house track a great vintage lo-fi feel to it. I'm gonna give it an 8. Usability. Well, let's start with the positives here. You can chain up to 128 patterns, which makes pretty much a complete song, and that's great. You can also record automation, which is also great. However, there's no real quick way to mute and unmute sounds, and that's a huge problem for house music. Also, that 4 voices polyphony. It's a bummer. It just is. If you really want to produce some house on this machine, you have to create a dedicated drum pack just for it, in which maybe you have some sounds that are bounced together, like a kick and a snare together, or some percussions and the snare together, or maybe like you have to record an entire drum machine pattern all together, which is, it kind of defies the point of the whole thing. And even if you do manage to bounce these tracks together, and kind of compound it on top of each other, you still have to realistically use at least 2 tracks just for the drums. That leaves you with just 1 track for bass, 1 track for a sample. And, one can argue that's not enough for house music, so I don't know. Even with these workarounds, you're still pretty much limited on what you can do with this. And I know that limitations breed creativity, but sometimes limitations just breed boring shit. And for this reason, I have to give the po33 a usability score of 3. Which brings us down to a 5.5, 6. So final verdict, will the po33 KO house? Technically, yes. Would I recommend it as a standalone to produce house music? No. But it could be a great companion for something like a Korg Volca sample. In fact, I actually have a whole video about it right here. That's it for today. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and remember that the samples and project files and much more are on my brand new Patreon page, link in the description box below. Until next time, I say peace.